Imagine walking home on a freezing night with nothing but your old coat to keep you warm. Then a stranger stops and says you're coming with me before we dive into this unbelievable story. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and ring the bell, so you never miss stories that will leave you speechless. It was a bitterly cold night, and the wind cut through the streets like a blade. She finished her shift at the small downtown diner and wrapped her thin coat around her shivering frame, walking along the empty sidewalk, every step heavier than the last neon signs flickered. Shadows danced across the wet pavement, and she wished for a cab or even a bus, but nothing came. The night felt endless, and loneliness pressed against her chest. She shivered, not only from the cold, but from the fear of being completely invisible in a city full of strangers. Across the street, a sleek black car rolled slowly and stopped. He leaned out the window, eyes sharp and piercing, yet there was a softness in them. "You are coming with me," he said, and she froze, her mind racing with every possible scenario of danger, but something in his voice made her pause. The warmth of the car promised safety, and she hesitated, looking down at the icy road and back at him. She wondered if this could be a mistake, but the desperation to escape the cold was stronger than the caution that whispered in her mind. She stepped into the car, feeling the heat wash over her frozen body, and he closed the door behind her. Driving through streets that seemed familiar and unfamiliar all at once, the city lights reflected off the windows and danced across his face. He spoke little, but she felt a presence that demanded attention in a way that was almost comforting, almost frightening. The way he observed everything without saying a word made her feel both exposed and protected at the same time. The car arrived at a large modern house that seemed miles away from the lonely streets. She hesitated at the door, but he smiled and insisted, "Come in and rest for the night." The house smelled faintly of coffee and leather, and the quiet elegance of it made her forget the cold. For the first time in hours, he guided her to a guest room where a fire had been lit and blankets laid out. Her body finally relaxed, sinking into the soft bed. The exhaustion she had carried for days seemed to evaporate, and she noticed the weight she had carried from a life of struggle that she had never shared with anyone. He checked on her, often moving silently through the hallways, sometimes leaving things she had not asked for, like a hot cup of tea or extra blankets. She noticed the attention to detail, the way he seemed to anticipate her needs without asking. She wondered who he was and why he cared. She could not reconcile the sharpness of his eyes with the warmth of his actions, but she knew that for this one night she was safe. The thought that a stranger could care this much was both astonishing and frightening at the same time. Morning came, and sunlight streamed through the windows. The fire had burned low, and breakfast was waiting on the table. She could hear him moving through the kitchen, preparing simple food with a quiet focus that made every gesture seem significant. He did not rush her. She ate slowly, savoring the warmth and the calmness of the home, and as she finished, she found a note left for her, telling her to never hesitate to reach out if she ever needed anything. She could not believe her eyes. The words were simple, but the meaning profound. She realized that sometimes kindness could be quiet, but life-changing. She left the house with disbelief and awe, walking back into the city streets that now seemed less cold. The memory of the night stayed with her, inspiring her to live differently, to notice people, to act kindly when she could. She remembered the black car, the authority and care in his eyes, the way he had stopped without hesitation in a world full of indifference. She knew she would never forget him, and the night he had chosen to make her life feel safer and brighter. Months passed, and she found herself retelling the story to friends, family, coworkers. The memory of that cold night became a turning point. She applied for jobs she had been too scared to try. She volunteered. She took small risks that led to big changes, and she realized that his one act of kindness had ripple effects she had never imagined. She carried the warmth he had offered and tried to pass it on in every way she could, and she realized that the world could be cruel, but it could also be unexpectedly generous, and one act could change everything. Sometimes when she walked past the street where it all happened, she paused, thinking maybe he was watching, maybe he had done it for reasons she could never fully understand, but she did not care. She only knew that he had reminded her that people could be better than you expect, and that hope could arrive in a sleek black car in the middle of the freezing night. She smiled at the memory and carried on, knowing that her life had shifted forever because of someone who saw her in a moment when no one else did, and she wondered how many other lives could be changed by such simple yet profound gestures. The city continued around her, traffic noise, people rushing. She walked with a sense of gratitude, a sense of possibility, and a new understanding that the world was vast and full of chances to be brave. The night he found her alone, cold and shivering, became a legend in her mind, a reminder that even strangers could offer light in darkness, and that a moment of courage could lead to a lifetime of change. And as she looked forward, she felt ready to give as much as she had received, hoping that one day she could be the person who stopped for someone in need and offered a warmth that could change the course of their night and maybe their life. And she did, because she never forgot the lesson learned that night, the lesson of compassion, courage, and humanity intertwined. The world can be cruel, but it can also be unexpectedly generous in every act of kindness. has the power to create ripples across the lives of strangers, and she walked on, carrying that belief and offering it in small ways to the people she met. The memory of the black car and the words "you are coming with me" stayed with her as a reminder that sometimes salvation comes from the most unexpected places, and sometimes one person can change everything with the simplest of actions, and she knew she was now part of a chain of kindness that could go on endlessly, and in that, she found peace, hope, and purpose. Wow, if this story left you speechless, just imagine how many lives are quietly being changed every single day by strangers who choose to act with kindness. You just witnessed how one simple decision to stop and help someone in need can ripple into a lifetime of impact. And the best part is, you never know when it could be your turn to make a difference. Maybe today you will see someone struggling, maybe tomorrow someone will do the same for you. Stories like this remind us that even in a world that often feels cold and unforgiving, there is always room for compassion, courage, and hope. Each of us has the power to be the light in someone else's dark night, and it doesn't take fame, money, or power. It only takes awareness and willingness to care. So take a moment, think about who you can help, how you can change someone's day or even their life with a small act of kindness. If this story moved you, don't forget to hit that like button, because it helps us bring more incredible true stories to you and your friends and family. Share it with someone who needs a reminder that good still exists in the world, and subscribe and hit the bell so you never miss another story that will shock you, inspire you, and make you believe in the power of humanity. And finally, leave a comment below. We want to hear your thoughts, your experiences, and maybe your own story of a stranger who changed your life in a moment that felt impossible. This community is built on connection, on sharing, and on realizing that even the smallest gestures matter more than we ever realize. So go out there, be brave, be kind, and maybe one day someone will tell the story of how you changed their life forever. Because sometimes the smallest act of courage, the simplest decision to help someone in need, can create ripples that extend far beyond what we can imagine, and that is the real magic of humanity. So keep watching, stay inspired, and remember that every one of us has the power to be the reason someone smiles today.